Hello everyone. This tutorial is going to give you an overview of Kami, the great annotating software that we have available for our students to annotate PDFs. But we're also going to talk about the workflow of how you can get your PDFs ready for your students, and then also how you can put those PDFs into an assignment so that when the students open it, they open it using Kami, they annotate it, and they can turn it back into you. So the first thing that I want to talk about is the different types of PDFs that there are out there. There are PDFs that are actual editable type text. There are PDFs that look like they're editable type text, but they're really just an image. And then there's PDFs that are just images and intended to be an image. So the first one I'm going to show you is this one called Olympics. I'm just going to open this PDF. And you'll notice that when I open this PDF, if I click and drag over the PDF, I'll actually be able to highlight the text. This is a really good benefit when you're going to do an assignment inside of Kami. So it's not the end of the world if you can't do this, but it is definitely a benefit. The next one I'm going to show you is this one called Harry Truman. I'm going to open this one. And it kind of looks like the one I just had open. But the difference is when I try and grab onto the text that's in that window, it actually doesn't highlight. I'm trying to highlight the text that's in this window. So this is what we call a PDF, but it's really just an image. Okay, so this is what you would get if you scan a piece of paper using the copy machines. So when you scan something on the copy machines, this is the format that it puts it in. It's still not the end of the world, and I will show you some techniques during this tutorial that will show you how to get around that as well. And then finally, the last one that you might have the need for is an actual image that could be considered a PDF. Now this one's got the extension PNG. That's okay. That's going to work inside of Kami as well. You can load PDFs inside of Kami. You can load PNGs, JPEGs, those types of things inside. So if I open this one, this is just a black and white version of the United States, as you can tell. Okay, but again, very, very similar to that PDF that I just had open. There's no clearly there's no text on this image, but there's no way for me to highlight anything on this this image. Okay, so even if the image had text on it, I still wouldn't be able to highlight it. But again, what I'm going to show you with the techniques of Kami, this part is not really important. I just wanted you to understand the different types of PDFs that there are out there. So just the basics of how Kami works. Kami is an extension that lays on top of Google Chrome, your Chrome browser. So all faculty members have to physically load the Kami extension. All right, and I have sent links out for this in the past. Jennifer just sent this out in your training email that you got yesterday. And so that's the critical piece. You need to load that. The students don't have to worry about loading that because we automatically push that out to their devices. So they don't have to worry about that at all. So first up, get that Kami extension loaded. Then you've got to create a PDF or somehow obtain a PDF that you want to use as a part of an assignment. So I've got some documents here in my PDF folder that I'm going to use as my examples today. But I also just wanted to show you the workflow of how to make your own PDF. So here I am in a Google Doc. I'm in the Google Doc that I presented to all of you for your recording of your direct instruction and posting to YouTube. And so let's say you have this Google Doc, or maybe you've got a Microsoft Word file, or maybe you have a PowerPoint or a Google Slides file that you want to convert into a PDF and you want your students to annotate on that. So any Google Doc, Google Slide, or Microsoft Word or Microsoft PowerPoint, or maybe it's a Smart Notebook file, whatever you have, you have the ability to create a PDF. And it's as simple as this on your Mac. You act like you're going to print it. So I'm going to do a Command P. That's the shortcut for printing. And I get this dialog box. And all I have to do very simply is click right here where it says PDF, and I say Save as PDF. It brings up a dialog box. I navigate to the folder that I want to save it to. I can rename it, or I can keep the same name, and I click Save. Another way, specifically in Google Docs, is that you can go to the File menu and select Download as PDF. But this will go to your Downloads folder, so you'll have to make sure that you remember that that's where it went. And then finally, if you're in Word, and I'm not going to show you, but if you're in Word, you just go to the File, Save As, and the PDF option is in your Save As dialog box. So you've got 3 different ways. Print in anything. Chrome, you can go to Download as PDF. And in Word, you go to File, Save As, and save it as a PDF. In every other application, the print will work without a doubt. So I'm going to get back to my Finder window, and we'll see that there's my recording paper. And this is now a PDF. It will open in preview. It is one of those that is highlightable. So I wanted to just make sure that everyone understood how to get a PDF and the different kinds of PDFs. So you've got your Kami extension loaded. You've got your PDF ready to go. And so now what? So what we're going to do is we're going to walk through Schoology and how to create an assignment using the Kami embedded extension, and then provide that file, that PDF file, to your students. They will then in turn open that PDF using Kami, do the annotations that you're asking them to do, and turn that file in to you. So what I have is I have myself logged into Schoology, but then I also have the ability, and Deb and I use Leonardo da Vinci and Abraham Lincoln as our little test students. So I will be showing you what it looks like for Leonardo da Vinci when I've given that assignment. So I'm going to go back to my Schoology course, and I'm going to add an assignment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add materials, and I'm going to add an assignment. And as always, when you create an assignment inside of Schoology, you got to give it a name. So I'm going to call this Olympics Feedback. Of course, you're going to give it a description. Maybe you'll have directions in there. You'll have part of your lesson or your instruction inside of that description. And remember, you can do all sorts of formatting, add other things like embed a video or any links that you want to embed into this particular assignment. But this part right here is where we're going to head. This is because you're seeing this button in there because you have Kami extension loaded, and because we have the paid version of Kami. So that's a wonderful feature that we have available to us. So I'm going to click that button, and what it's going to do, it's going to speak to my Google Drive. So it's going to look at my drive. It's going to look at, I can also search my whole drive for all sorts of PDFs. The recent is things that maybe you worked on recently. If you utilize the starred capability inside of your Google Drive, I know some of you do. That's an easy way to find something on a quick notice there. And then you can also upload. So maybe it's not inside your Google Drive, but maybe it's on your desktop, or maybe it's in your downloads folder and you forgot. That's where you could upload that file. So I have this folder that I moved over to my Google Drive that contains those PDFs that we were talking about earlier. I'm going to double click that folder. And in this particular example, I'm going to go in and I'm going to choose the Olympics PDF. And then I'm going to click select. It's readying that file inside of my assignment. And notice right here, and this is the cool part, this will create a copy of your file for each student. So you don't have to worry about them doing anything. It will automatically create a copy of that file, and it actually puts their name attached in the name of the file. So that's awesome. If you want to apply a due date, I need to add the category. I have to do that. But you can apply a due date and every other thing that you do inside of your Schoology assignments. I'm going to click Create. There's my Olympics feedback assignment. I'm now going to flip over to Leonardo da Vinci. I'll just do a quick refresh. And there is the assignment. So now as the student, this is what the student sees when they open this assignment that you've created using the Kami extension. They're going to click on that assignment and they're going to see the PDF. Now, I didn't give any kind of description, but that would be in there as well right above. So they've got two choices. This is a critical piece. You do not want them to just click on the PDF from here. All that will do is open the PDF in their browser. You want them to click this button. Again, that is a critical piece, so make sure that your students understand that direction. They're going to click on the Open Assignment with Kami button. I'm going to click that. It's going to open in another tab. And based on your directions, they're going to annotate this PDF. Now, at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that all of these tools along the side and all of these tools up top here, I cover in another tutorial. So I'm not going to go through any of the tools in this tutorial just from a time standpoint. So I have posted that to my YouTube channel, and I've also posted it to the OCS Tech Hub. And what it is, it's called the Kami Tools Deep Dive. And so it will go through each and every one of these tools over here and explain how they work. And there are some pretty fabulous tools. So I would highly recommend that you take some time to watch that Kami Tools Deeper Dive. And then I also talk about these tools up here. So I'm just going to very briefly do a couple of things to this document. The first thing I'm going to do is just highlight some text. Now, notice that I'm highlighting this text. And do you remember the PDF that I showed you that wasn't highlightable? Remember the file? And it was... let me just show you. It was the Harry Truman file. So that particular file, the students would not be able to use the text highlighter to highlight the text. However, it's still doable. The second tool, the box highlighter, gets that taken care of. So if you do have a PDF that's not highlightable text, you can use this box highlighter, and I'm just going to pick a different color so you can see. And so I can just highlight in the same fashion. So as I said earlier, it's not the end of the world if you don't have a highlightable PDF file, but it does make it kind of nice because there are some other features that you cannot do if it's not highlightable text. Okay, so let's say we've done all sorts of annotations to this document. And I'm ready to turn this in as the student. Notice right over here, there is this awesome button right at the top called Turn In. I click on that button. I click Turn In. And it's prepping everything. It gives the students one last chance to do something with the file. Notice I can add an audio recording. I can add a file to this. Don't get tricked by my name in here, okay? Leo is the one that is annotating this, but I'm tricking my system because I'm still logged into my Dawn Schiavone Google account. So just know that when Leo or when your students annotate those devices or those documents, that their name is going to be a part of this. So don't let that throw you that you see my name. Once they're ready to submit, they click on Submit. so I can see that I have that assignment submitted, and as a student, I'm good to go. So now I'm going to go over to my teacher page, and I'm going to refresh on my teacher page. I'm going to click on that Olympics feedback, and I'll see that Leo turned in that assignment. So I'm going to click on that assignment, and you can see I can grade it with the Schoology grading capabilities. And I'm not going to go into any of those because you've had those available to you for quite some time. But notice right up top here, I can open with Kami. So I click on Kami. And you may get this maybe the first time that you open it. So just kind of keep aware of that. No worries on that one. You'll have to pick your Google Drive. So now here's the cool thing. This is Leo's annotated version. So I can add comments to that. Leo will see them. I can add an audio voiceover or audio comment on this, and Leo will see that. So these kinds of annotations will go back and forth between you and the student. So I'm just going to, just for time's sake, I'm going to do another text highlighter. I'm going to do a pink just so that you can see how it works, but this works with any annotation. So I've just added some comments to it. So I'm going to go back to Leo. I'm going to refresh. I'm going to reopen the assignment with Kami. And I will see, the student will see anything that you added. So they're like, oh, okay, now I get it. Or, okay, that's my feedback. I'm good to go. Okay. If they want to redo some things, and again, this is depending on whether or not you allow it, they can turn it in again. You can go back and forth until you've decided that you're not going to accept any more renditions of the file, and then you're good to go. So that is the workflow between how you as the teacher can assign that PDF, how the student opens that PDF, how the student turns that PDF in using Kami, how you can open that PDF in Kami, add comments as you grade it, add comments to turn it back to them, and you can continue in that fashion until you until you feel you're finished with the process. So I'll end with a think out of the box kind of a concept. Maybe you might want to pre-annotate a PDF with some annotations that you want to then maybe have the students continue with when they open the PDF in Kami. So if you want to do this step, you're going to open the Kami extension directly by clicking on the blue button. And you're going to tell Kami that you want to open a file either from your computer or from your Google Drive. Now for my Google Classroom teachers, my K4 teachers, notice you can also create a classroom assignment right from here. So there's a nice little shortcut. There's also a new blank page. So that's kind of a cool feature. So if you want to check that one out, it's got some blank line type of backgrounds, and it's got a grid paper. So you might want to check those out as well. So maybe there's a PDF that you want to pre-annotate with some things on it already. So I'm going to say open from Google Drive just to show you a little bit how this works. And I'm going to go into that same PDF folder that we talked about in the previous sessions. And I'm going to open one of these other PDFs. So I'm going to open, let's say this guy, the Harry Truman one. Because remember, that was the one that was the non-highlightable text. Look at what it does for me. It says, hey, this seems like a scanned PDF. Would you like to have me run OCR? That stands for optical character recognition. And so it will try and recognize all of the text that it sees on there. And what I found is that it does a pretty good job. So give it a try, run it. If you like it, use it. If not, maybe don't use it for that particular PDF. This particular one has a couple columns and it's got a map, so that might be a little confusing. I'm just going to say no thanks for this one, and I'm just going to leave it as it is. So let's say you want to add a little pre-annotating to this file. You could do some highlights, you could do some text boxes. One thing that you might find to be very helpful for your students is a voice comment. Now, again, you're going to learn all of these tools a lot better in that deeper dive video, so make sure you check that out later on. But let's say I want to add just a little audio clip to this file. So I'm going to click right here, and it is instantly recording my voice, and I can give the students some little extra added instructions, or maybe some encouragement, or some tips or recommendations, or don't forget about this, or something like that. Once you're finished with your little message, and notice you can leave up to a 5-minute message, just crazy. You click the stop button. And then when you are done with that, you'll notice right up here, it says saved. So that saved my most recent changes. Okay. So you might wonder, okay, so where did this file go? So let me just see if I can shed some light on that. So you're going to go to your Finder, and you're going to go into that folder that you opened that PDF in. So that was in the Google Drive, in my particular case, in the My Drive, in the PDFs, and that Harry Truman. But it doesn't look like anything changed. If I open that file, it doesn't look like anything changed. There's nothing. But you see this little box right there? It's kind of there. But Preview doesn't know how to understand that audio file. So just kind of keep note. You'll see some highlights because Preview understands highlights, but some of those fancy annotations that you might add ahead of time, just know that they're there. And then when you add this file to your Google Classroom assignment or your Schoology assignment, and if you add it using Kami, and if the students open it using Kami, they are going to see this annotation. So it'll take maybe once or twice for everybody to get the workflow, but the key thing is that you add the file in Kami, that the students open it in Kami, and that you reopen it in Kami to grade it or to check for whatever annotations that they did. One final thing to note is that Kami creates these folders inside of your Google Drive. If you're a K-4 teacher, it creates a Kami Assignments and a Kami Uploads. And if you are a 512 teacher, it will create a Kami Schoology Assignments and a Kami Uploads folder. The Kami Uploads folder, from what I can gather, it's where Kami puts things when you've uploaded them from your downloads folder or your desktop folder. Like if you brought them in from an external source and they weren't already in your Google Drive. So it's kind of like the place that Kami says, all right, well, she brought this from the desktop, so I'll put it in this Kami Uploads folder. So just kind of keep that in mind, that if you can't seem to find where it is, and it used to be on your desktop, but the desktop is still the old version, the Kami version is now in this folder. I hope that makes sense. And then as students and as you create assignments and as students submit those assignments, then you're going to find things get accumulated in this Kami Schoology assignments if you're a 512 teacher, and in this Kami assignments folder if you're a K-4 teacher. So just kind of keep aware of those folders and check them out as they begin to populate. So in review, I just want to remind you, we talked about the different kinds of PDFs and how to tell the difference from one to the next. We talked about it for my Schoology people. We talked about adding that Schoology assignment in and using Kami and the correct workflow. For my K-4 teachers, we talked about creating a Google Classroom assignment with Kami and using the correct workflow there. And then finally, we talked about the Kami interface when you click on the blue button to just begin from scratch with a Kami file that, or a PDF file that maybe you want to add some annotations to. Our Google Classroom teachers, you can have a shortcut to create a Google Classroom assignment, and you can create a new blank page. There's a couple other little features that I won't cover today, and that's the OCR, which we didn't really cover. I mentioned it. And then also the split merge. So you can check those out at your leisure. So I wish you luck as you begin to add Kami assignments to your Google Classroom and Schoology courses. And please don't hesitate to reach out to Deb or myself for more assistance.